What's up, guys? It's me, Tiff, and I'm in New York City watching Sam Bankman-Fried's criminal trial in person. As I've stated, it won't be televised, so I'll be sharing updates here on YouTube, on Twitter, on Substack, etc. So if you want to follow along, feel free to. If not, it's fine. So today we watched Nishad Singh testify against Sam Bankman-Fried. I'm not gonna lie, I had pretty low expectations for Nishad Singh's testimony. I think all of us were really looking forward to Caroline Ellison and Gary Wang, and I hadn't actually heard that much about Nishad. But I was wrong for that, because I actually think Nishad Singh's testimony might have been the most compelling so far. That is just my opinion, but today kind of felt like watching a movie. Nishad painted a very vivid picture of Sam Bankman-Fried's sort of cavalier attitude towards using FTX customer funds. He elaborated on Sam's excessive spending, talked about being used as a straw donor for political donations, and recounted in great detail some of his one-on-one conversations with Sam Bankman-Fried about the gaping hole in FTX customer assets. So let's get into it. For those who aren't aware, Nishad Singh was the head of engineering at FTX and actually goes way back with Sam Bankman-Fried. The two went to high school together in the Bay Area, and Nishad met Sam in his sophomore or junior year of high school because he was actually very close friends with Sam's brother, Gabe Bankman-Fried. Nishad said he was actually always intimidated by Sam because he viewed him as a brilliant, formidable character. He said that he had always had a lot of respect for Sam, but that was eroded over time, and he began to view Sam as distrustful. So Nishad has already pled guilty and kicked off his testimony by blatantly admitting to committing financial crimes, stating that he defrauded customers and investors, participated in money laundering, and violated campaign finance laws. And he says he committed these crimes with Sam Bankman-Fried, Caroline Ellison, Gary Wang, and Ryan Salem, and that he actually only learned of the whole in September of 2022, 2 months before FTX and Alameda's collapse. The first key element of Nishad's testimony was his detailed explanation of Sam's excessive spending. Nishad testified that he complained frequently to Sam that the spends were too large. Apparently, Sam responded by saying people like him sowing the seeds of doubt were the real problem. And despite the fact that Sam had officially stepped down as Alameda CEO and claimed that he had very little involvement in the company, we viewed spreadsheets that confirmed that Sam led investments in companies like K5, DGA, and Anthropic, which were all listed as Alameda Research investments. We then dove into Sam's investment in K5, which is on paper an investment firm, but seems to function largely as a company that just connects people like Sam to massive celebrities. Apparently, Sam had dinner at K5 founders Michael Kive's house in Los Angeles and came away stating, "He is probably the most connected person I've ever met. At his dinner at his house were Hillary Clinton, Doug Emhoff, Katy Perry, Orlando Bloom, Kate Hudson, Leonardo DiCaprio, Jeff Bezos, Ted Sarandos, Kendall and Kris Jenner, and Corey Gamble." This was a funny moment because Nishad Singh was asked to go down this list and identify each of these celebrities, and he recognized the majority of them, but when he got to Kendall and Kris Jenner, he said that he knew who they were, but that "I honestly could not tell you what they do." Anyway, apparently Sam came away from that dinner enchanted by Michael Kives and said that we could get from them essentially infinite connections. "I think if we asked them to arrange a dinner for us with Elon Musk, Obama, Rihanna, and Mark Zuckerberg, they'd probably succeed." Sam continued that this could lead to endorsement deals, unpaid partnerships, etc., and called K5 a one-stop shop for relationships. So to access these contacts, Sam ended up paying Michael Kives hundreds of millions of dollars in bonuses, and even professed that he'd be willing to spend up to $1 billion on K5. Nishad apparently felt uneasy about this investment and asked Sam if it was a done deal. Sam, however, said to consider it a done deal. Nishad begrudgingly said that if they must go through with it, the money should come from Sam himself rather than FTX's funds. Ultimately, however, the spreadsheet shows that the funds apparently came from Alameda Research, so I guess he kind of got what he asked for, but also Alameda Research was using FTX customer funds, so we then got into endorsement deals. Sam agreed to spend $205 million on FTX Arena, $150 million on MLB, $30 million on Steph Curry, $50 million on Tom Brady and Gisele Bündchen, and $10 million for Larry David to appear in their Super Bowl commercial. Apparently, Sam signed off on spending a total of $1.13 billion on endorsements. We then got into Sam's spending on real estate. When Sam was looking for a Bahamas apartment, he expressed interest in the lavish $30 million apartment that they ended up living in. Nishad expressed reservations about the apartment since it was so ostentatious, but apparently Sam really liked the views and told Nishad that he'd pay $100 million to stop the drama about it. So Nishad took this as a signal to shut up. Anyway, apparently in August or September of 2022, Alameda's account did not have nearly enough collateral if you did not include their enormous line of credit. And when I say enormous, Alameda actually had a $65 billion line of credit on FTX, whereas the largest line of credit any other customer on FTX had was in the single to double-digit millions. So apparently around that time, Nishad Singh wrote script to determine how much collateral they were lacking, which would reveal how much of their line of credit they were drawing on. At which point he discovered that Alameda was drawing on $10 billion from FTX. Nishad brought this to Sam's attention, and apparently Sam responded by asking if he was including their other accounts and sub-accounts, and also asked if Nishad, Gary, and Caroline could all transfer their personal serum holdings to make it look like Alameda had more collateral than it really did. He also asked Nishad to backdate the transfers to make it look like the funds were there the entire time. Nishad then testified that the purpose of this little exercise was to fool the recipient of the data, the CFTC. Later, in 2022, Sam sent Nishad Singh and Gary Wang a document in which he contemplated shutting down Alameda Research. We've covered this in previous videos, but Sam basically said he didn't have faith in the competency of its leadership anymore and was worried it was a PR risk to FTX. Nishad offered his perspective, stating that they shouldn't shut down Alameda as a whole, but should shut down Alameda on FTX. He provided a list of things they'd have to do to accomplish this, stating that they would have to close down illiquid markets, revamp how the OTC system worked, and most importantly, have Alameda close down its accounts and return everything it was negative on. Sam apparently responded to this list, stating, "Not crazy," but when Nishad sent this same proposal to Caroline Ellison, she replied, "That's impossible." Apparently, this was because they would not be able to close down their accounts. Gary Wang then revealed that Alameda Research was borrowing $13 billion from FTX. Nishad testified that in June, he thought Alameda was perfectly healthy, but that September was an absolutely devastating reality. He understood that this $13 billion of borrowing had to be from FTX customer funds because FTX simply did not have that much money. He brought this to Sam Bankman-Fried's attention and testified that Sam seemed unsurprised. So apparently late that evening, Nishad spoke to Sam on the balcony of the Orchid penthouse. Nishad was pacing around the balcony while Sam was reclined on a chair. Nishad began stating, "Caroline's really freaked out by the NAV situation, or NAV, net asset value." Sam responded, "I'm not sure what there is to worry about. NAV is great by any measure." Nishad asked, "What about the borrows we can't repay?" Sam responds, "Right, that. We are a little short on deliverables, or in other words, apparently assets that can be repaid." Nishad asks, "How much are we short by?" Sam responds, "Wrong question. Real question is, how much can we deliver? I think $5 billion. Given weeks, substantially more. Given more weeks, substantially more. This has been taxing me for 5 to 10% of my productivity over the last year." In other words, Sam insinuates he's known about this for at least a year. Nishad responds, "I think it'll hit me a lot harder." Sam says, "Yeah, maybe I shouldn't have circulated that document about shutting down Alameda. So he should have hid this longer?" Nishad asks, "What are we gonna do?" Sam responds with a list, stating, "I'm not too worried. We can sell off Alameda's illiquid but valuable assets and properties, make other assets more valuable. We can begin selling FTX equity and raising money from investors. And FTX US futures could be a boom for the company." Nishad asks, "Will you take expenses more seriously going forward?" Sam says, "Yeah, definitely. I'm working on that with Romnick." Apparently this conversation left Nishad Singh horrified. He said, "5 years of blood, sweat, and tears working for something I thought was good but turned out to be something evil." He said every day after that conversation he considered leaving FTX but was worried that his departure might precipitate a collapse that could be avoidable. Later, Sam ended up going on a trip to the Middle East, apparently in an attempt to raise funds. When he came back to the office, he regaled employees with stories of how successfully the trip had gone. Nishad, who understandably still felt uneasy, asked to meet with Sam privately. Nishad began, "I'm really not doing well. I might quit. How's it going with NAV? What's the plan? Any updates?" Sam replied by describing prospects for raising capital from investors in the Middle East. He said it was possible they make $5 billion from this, but it was also possible they made $0. In reality, however, they needed $13 billion. So Nishad responded, "Okay, but we have a lot left we need. What's the plan?" Sam responded that the main plan is making FTX successful and growing it. He continued that a huge part of that depends on you, so you can take things off my plate. Nishad noted that Sam was incredibly tense during this conversation. Apparently, there were long moments of silence. He also said that Sam has some physical tells when he's thinking hard or upset. For example, he closes his eyes and grinds his teeth in his mouth and would glare up intensely at Nishad when Nishad would ask for updates. Nishad said that he ended up apologizing to Sam for asking for the meeting because he could tell that his line of questioning was so unwelcome by Sam. So anyway, did Sam's excessive spending end up changing after their conversation in September? Nishad said he had been pushing for Sam to cut spending and was successful in doing so and actually cut spending by hundreds of millions of dollars. But that Sam simply wouldn't cut a lot of his spending. For example, endorsement deals, acquisitions, and FTX office plans. Sam also decided to invest $250 million into Modulo Capital, a hedge fund founded by his former flame, Lily Zhang, on September 26, 2022, which was clearly after Sam and Nishad's conversation about a $13 billion hole. So overall, I think Nishad Singh has actually been the most effective witness in illustrating Sam's excessive spending and his cavalier attitude towards using FTX customer funds. We then got into Nishad being used as a straw donor for political donations. Apparently, Ryan Salem had access to both Sam Bankman-Fried and Nishad Singh's bank accounts and would simply transfer money out of their accounts to make political donations. Occasionally, Nishad would receive an email about this with a link that he would have to click on and just approve. He also notes that many of these donations were made after September when he had learned about the hole. In other words, a lot of these donations were effectively made using FTX customer funds. Apparently, Gabe Bankman-Fried, Sam's brother, also asked Nishad to sign a bunch of blank checks so that him and his team could use them for political donations. And why were these donations being made under Nishad's name? Apparently for advantageous optics. Nishad was told, "You being the center-left face of our political spending means you giving to a lot of woke shit." So I think I've covered most of the highlights from Nishad Singh's testimony, but he also testified that leading up to the collapse, he went through severe emotional distress. He felt guilty for participating in the fraud after September 2022, and he was actually suicidal for several days. Obviously, I'm not saying that his feelings excuse him from participating in any of this, but I will say, out of the inner circle of Sam Bankman-Fried, Caroline Ellison, and Gary Wang, I personally feel he is the least complicit out of the four. If he's not lying in his testimony, it does sound like he learned about the hole pretty late in the game, literally 2 months before FTX's collapse. And it doesn't sound like any of this criminal activity was his idea. It does sound like a lot of it was directed by Sam Bankman-Fried, and he claims that he continually expressed his reservations about what was going on, and he has already pled guilty to his criminal charges. So my point here is not claiming that he's innocent, but that the fact that he's already pled guilty to his criminal charges and is owning up to his actions and taking responsibility makes Sam Bankman-Fried, who is at the helm of all of this and apparently directed a lot of this behavior, but claims to be completely innocent on all of his criminal charges, it makes Sam look really, really bad. So in sum, it is not looking so good for Sam Bankman-Fried. I thought Nishad Singh's testimony was incredibly damning, and we will be watching his cross-examination tomorrow, so I'll let you know how that goes. I've been posting little excerpts from my conversations with Sam Bankman-Fried for my paid Twitter and my paid Substack subscribers. So if you're interested in seeing any of that, you can feel free to subscribe to me, but otherwise, I'll still be posting these summaries publicly for anyone on Twitter or YouTube, so if you want to follow along, you can. By the way, I wanted to give a quick shout out to my sponsor, Aura. Aura is an identity theft and data security company that protects you from scammers and hackers by scanning the web and the dark web for your sensitive information, like your passwords, your phone number, your home address, etc., and alerts you immediately if it finds anything and automatically requests removal for you. Aura has actually found a ton of my personal information, like my passwords, my home address, and my phone number, leaked out there on the internet and successfully removed a lot of that for me. So I actually pay for a subscription to Aura, but they're offering my followers a 2-week free trial at aura.com/Tiffany or using this handy little QR code right here. I personally think it's worth checking out the 2-week free trial, even if just to see if any of your personal information has been leaked out there on the internet or on the dark web so that you can try to get it removed. Anyway, I will be back tomorrow with more updates, and I love you all so very much, and I'll talk to you soon.